This is episode 36 of Give Me a Chance, and it is your host speaking, Vittoria. Hi everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Give Me a Chance. I hope you really had a fantastic holiday period, and well, now it's time to start again with our stories. This week we will listen to Ronen's story, and we will learn how taking risks and starting different businesses first and going on a spirituality path gave Ronen the chance to change his life. So let's get ready for Ronen's story. Hi Ronen, welcome to Give Me a Chance. How are you doing?
Very good.
How is everything going in North Carolina at the moment?
Things are good. It's mid-December and in Fahrenheit it's in the 70s. So I'm happy. I used to live in New York, and it was when the winter started, that's it. You could not expect it until it's done. Oh yeah.
But you say New York, and I know you live in North Carolina, but I also know that you were originally born in Israel. So yeah, I think this is kind of related to your story. So Ronen, can you share with us indeed how that came to be, that you started from Israel and now you are in the United States?
Yeah, so it's been a journey of growth and change. Yes, I was born and raised in Israel, served in the Navy over there.
Yeah.
And like in many Western society, there's expectations that when you're done with the military, you go to college and go the regular old beaten path of security and whatever everybody expects from you. And I was on that path. An earlier event in my life is that my father was pretty controlling, like most Second World War generation, wanted the kids to be financially secured, etc. Passed away when I was 15 unexpectedly from heart disease. And it really affected me in multiple ways, but one of them was the realization that you can't live for tomorrow, because he was a senior manager in a corporation, and he worked very hard and saving money and hardly traveling with my mom. It was always, when I retire, we're going to have time to go see the grandchildren, etc. But he never made it to retirement. So everything that happens in life is a lesson, as some of us know. And so what I took from that is not necessarily live for today, but in some ways, yes, live for today. You can't postpone too long because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. So that was one effect. The other one, he was planning the course for both me and my two brothers. I'm the youngest of three brothers.
Okay.
And for me, at the time, this was the, I guess, 70s, 80s, computers came into households.
Of course, yeah.
And he saw that future. My older brother, 10 years my senior, was electronics. That was the path he sent him on, to be an engineer in that area. But for me, it was computers, and I was pretty much set on that course. And when he passed away, it allowed me more freedom to choose my own path. So I did start in Israel after military service in a university in the area of science and technology.
Yeah.
But I didn't really like what I was studying. I spent the first year over there. I won't say struggling. I was more like a B student. I really didn't enjoy studying that. And this was not even computers. This was basic stuff of advanced mathematics, physics, etc., what they teach you in the first year over there. And luckily for me, I have a very dear friend in Israel who's 10 years my senior. And she told me there's a common saying in Israel, difficult in training, easy in battle. Of course, country of wars, then everything is military metaphors.
Yeah, exactly.
And the concept is that you may be having a hard time in school, but once you're done, you graduate, you go to work, and everything is shiny.
Yeah, and you find your place.
And she warned me this is a trap. This is how they keep people in the rat race. Because she said by the time you finish university, you may be married and maybe get a house and have a mortgage, and maybe the first kid is on the way. And now you're stuck in a job that you don't like, and you have no way out because you have all these financial obligations.
Yeah.
And she told me the real thing is if you would love what you do, you would also enjoy studying it. And that was an eye-opener for me. And with her encouragement, I dropped out of college after the first year to dismiss my family and some friends. I was really challenged by my decision. And I decided to pursue the career or the direction of animation, which I had a passion for from being a kid. but also later on in my life, I encountered some interesting animation from the wide world, not just Disney. And I really enjoy the creativity and the directions and how to express myself. And so I was looking for a place to study that. In Israel, they had at the time no place to study this. Now they do, I think. But being that English was my second language, not very fluent, but enough to get by, I was looking at countries that teach English. Not teach, sorry, that's the speak English. Australia, the UK, and the US. And I ended up out of the three in the US for some of the reasons had to do with being able to get a consular visa through some connections and have work already when I arrived. So that was very helpful.
How did you experience the change? Because out of the blue, you were in a big city with anything and all kind of energy going around you. What kind of change did you have to make?
So one advantage is being young. I was in my 20s, and when you're young, you, I mean, at least for me, it was a bit easier to take those sort of opportunities. I like to say opportunities, not challenges. And so, and the other thing, we had a very remote relative that lived in New York. She was like 3-4 levels removed, cousin of my father somehow. And a connection was made to another relative, and she allowed us to invite us to come in for the first couple of weeks. So at least we had a place to land. And then we quickly found a small, tiny apartment in Queens, New York. My wife didn't know what she wanted to do, so she just went to work. She found a job, and I worked for the Israeli security at the time. And I started to study at the School of Visual Arts. And one of the courses I took was live filmmaking. And I realized I enjoyed that much more than animation. Animation, you control everything that's happening, but there's a bit less. So a lot of the creativity is happening before you start. With the live, I found that because of the collaboration with other people, you may give birth to the initial concept, but that everybody else bring their own stuff, and something new is happening.
Yeah. And so also improvisation. Indeed, that's the spark. Yeah. That's what makes it interesting.
And so I switched majors into live filmmaking, and I was focusing on that. And like my friend told me, I really enjoyed studying. Even stuff that wasn't amazing, it still was much, much more interesting because my heart was in it. But then it was the mid-90s, and the internet was just starting. And I was working on my first screenplay to do a feature. And as I was completing it, I had an opportunity. So again, it's all about opportunities. And that's my nature. I would probably be labeled as ADHD, but that wasn't a label at the time. So I was just a high energy person, curious person.
A very curious person. That's a good name for it. What happened?
What happened at the time, again, the internet was just starting. Early days of the internet, people were still skeptic if this thing will catch. You were connecting on this very, very slow modems. Some people may not know even what I'm talking about. 14.4 or 400 bauds on your regular phone line.
With the sound that you had to,
websites were only text, no graphics yet, not video for sure. And a small company in Israel that raised money came up with the first technology to stream video online. Granted, it was stamp size video, very pixelated, etc. But I saw that, and I saw YouTube. I saw how this one day will become the way to see videos. There would be no more DVDs. At the time, it was even VHS. And they wanted a film in English, a short film in English, to feature the technology to more investors in the West Coast. Right. So they asked me if they can use my film, which I said, okay, but I became very interested in what they're doing. And I told them, I'll do that, but I'd like to have the rights to be the distributor on the East Coast. I had no idea about business, no money.
And you just had a feeling for it.
Tiny apartment in New York and owning like $100,000 on my school fees because it's a private school. But again, I was young, so you don't think about stuff like that.
But from a creative guy, that was your chance. You went for it.
It was exciting. You know, I felt like what I felt is the internet was two-way communication. I can put something, get immediate feedback, and change. And it was, for me, that was the next wave in communication, and I was very interested in that at the time. Yeah. And so that led us. My wife was by then she did her degree in international marketing, And we ended up partnering and starting a company called Yard Productions. And she was doing the sales, I was doing everything else. And so she was knocking on doors of video production houses in New York City and telling them, you don't have to ship the reel anymore. We can just put it for you online. And most, if not all of them, told her it sounds amazing, but we don't have a website. Now, this is 1995, the year that had, I think in the beginning, something like 200 .com websites. At the end of that year, there was 200,000. That was the beginning of the parabolic growth of the internet. So I was in the right place in the right time. I taught myself how to do website. It was very simple. It was HTML 1.0. We do the website just so we can do the video. Over time, we got more and more work, including for websites. So I ended up hiring a designer, hiring a programmer. And by that time, the tiny apartment was filled between all of us and the dog running around. So we moved into a shared office in New York City with another company, which we outgrew very quickly. And then we moved into our own small suite of offices. And in 2 years, I moved into a whole floor. I had 30 people working for me. And we did everything web, video and website design and database and the whole 9 yards. And we were riding the wave. In the beginning, the first days doing the video, again, I was the only one doing this in the East Coast. So everybody that wanted video, the New York Times, PBS, the public service television, the Rolling Stones, anybody that needed to broadcast stuff had to go through our company because, again, we're only game in time. After that, within 2 years, real video came along, the bigger players, and then Moore's, and we downsized in that area, but we did much more web development by then. So this went fairly well. I've learned a lot business-wise because, again, I had no clue and I made tons of mistakes. And then the 2001 crash of the internet came. Yeah. Everybody around me were bankrupt. And we were about to get bankrupt because there was no work coming. I had this huge team working for me and tons of expenses. This is, again, 2000. I think the monthly expenses were about $100,000 just to run the company. I downsized the company to about 10 people, hoping for a miracle. And the miracle came in an unexpected way. A small company that was well-funded, a startup in the area of the web, not web development, but web collaboration, was looking to acquire a company like mine to hit the ground running with an experienced team. So the deal was struck. They covered all our debts. They paid us something. I negotiated the positions for all my staff that stuck with me through the hard times because for a few months I couldn't pay them, and they stayed just by me giving them my word, I will find a way to pay you. So all of them had a job, which was incredible at the time. People were so unemployed in my area. And I went to work for them as vice president of creative services. And this was a corporate, even though it was a small company, it was all corporate because all the managers were corporate. And I very quickly realized I'm not built for that. I'm not a corporate sort of person. I had to stay 3 years. That was my contract. I did my commitment. And as soon as that was done, I restarted a web development company with a partner, focusing on the hospitality industry because we saw an opportunity over there. This is before Expedia and Travelocity and all these guys. So hotels had no way to book real time. You had to fill a form and then wait for an answer a day, and then they would get back to you if there's availability. Yeah. We acquired a small booking engine from a guy, a programmer, and we offered it to the hotels for free in return for commission. So we took a risk, but my partner was in the area of marketing. So we were pretty confident that we'll be able to do it. Yeah. And we grew the company fairly quickly. At some point, we had, I think the max we reached was 300 hotels, and we made decent money. And then more opportunities came along. I'm jumping on stuff because when I was running the web development company, also a lot of opportunities came along. I mean, somebody once says that the blessing and the curse of the entrepreneur is that they see an opportunity in everything.
If I hear what you've been through and I see that you have become an entrepreneur and then you didn't have just one chance to put your brains into something that you could create, but so many things. I can imagine how was it for you to work with so much risk that you were taking, because they were all ideas that people were doubting about.
It's a character trait and it can be nourished. That's what I know now much more than before. Okay. It's some people would not take risks. I have friends like that and they had the same job all their life. And if they will take my position, they would be miserable. And if I'll be in their shoes, I'll be miserable. So not everybody is supposed to do this work. I mean, it's nice to read about Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and all these guys. they are risk takers. Yes, they're very calculated in their work, but they are risk takers. You never know how it's going to pan out. But you can't have everybody doing it the same way. That's why we don't have, all of us have the same trait. The problem is that society conditioned us that everybody have to be the next Elon Musk, and they don't. And that's where people get frustrated. So you can have your day job, and so long as you at least partially enjoy it. And then if you still have the creative juice and you're not into risk taking, you open a side business, you do something online. It's so easy today compared to what it was yesterday. And then you can feed both of them. If you're a bigger risk taker, that's your trait, then you go the path I went, and I crashed multiple times.
So, did you ever have a moment in which you thought, maybe I'm biting more than I can chew? Or?
Oh yeah, all the time, even today.
Even today. But
I work 7 days a week. I still do. I mean, I'll jump forward. After 20 somewhat years of doing online stuff, and in between also had a venture into the green energy arena because I really believed in that. Yeah. I do believe that it's good to have a job that you believe in. The web was really passionate for me in the beginning, but after so long and things changed a lot, it wasn't the same web that I started with. I lost my passion, but I was doing it because now I had 4 kids and I had all these obligations, etc. And then I was in South America and I sat with what we call the medicine, which is the Amazonian medicine. And things started to shift for me. I started to see things that I couldn't see before about myself, about my direction in life. And after doing this for a while, for a couple of years, I realized that I need to make a big shift and that my gift is really at this time with healing. I did have a spirit path with Tai Chi, Taoism, and then spending several years as an external disciple in an ashram. So I got exposed to Hinduism and some Chinese medicine. And but I never really done anything from the healing perspective. I just was involved with those directions. And the calling was very strong to become a healer. And this goes back to what you asked earlier. And the instructions are very, very strict. Drop everything you're doing right now. You can't do that this halfway. Drop everything and become a healer. And I was like, how would I support my family, support myself? The answer was, you're going to have to discover faith. Yeah. And I'm not talking about religion here, but I'm talking about trust and faith, that if this is what you need to do, everything will align itself to make you do this thing. And this was probably some of the most challenging time in my life, because I attempted to do it my way, which I kept my job and still did it on the side. And then my business immediately started to suffer. Immediately, it was crazy. I told my partner, it's time for me to leave. If you want, I'll just give you my shares and good luck, and I'll help you. But I cannot do this. I have another calling. And I told the medicine, now what? I have no clue what I'm doing. Yeah, look,
how do you do? So, what did the people around you?
My wife has always been very supportive. That's another thing is if you're not married to somebody or in partnership with somebody who supports you, it's time to find another partner. You're going through a phase of check with yourself. I mean, I checked with myself what people like to call in spiritism my higher self. Is this really serving my growth or not? And my answer to this is ask a very simple question: is this serving my highest good?
How is this path of spirituality serving your higher goods?
So the question again is, what, even if you're not into spiritism, but you do want to have personal growth, very basic question is, the decision I'm making right now will take me forward, keep me in the same place, or take me backwards? Every decision I make is guided by that. Is that going to make me a better person? As I was making the decision to break away from the web and go into healing, and by the way, in terms of the logistics, I quickly took a Reiki 1 course and I started to offer Reiki. I do energy work, I do sound healing. I work with different plant medicine and Kambo, which is a frog from the Amazon. So I work with these different modalities, Tai Chi, yoga. All of this is my tool set, and I keep on expanding and growing it. No, I'm going to do this because this way I can assist one more person to heal. I can assist one more person to find their calling. And when I'm doing this, the money just comes. Abundance follow you if you're following your mission. My change started probably in my mid-40s, but really kicked out in my early 50s.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. You're never too old to do something. I don't
Always
care.
make a change.
It's a set of mind. Some are too old to change right now. No, you're not. It's
just
it's what you decide.
Absolutely.
I probably made more changes in my recent years than 20-year-old would make. But that's because I understand that everything flows, everything changes. We change day to day, hour to hour. And something I was really invested in yesterday, I may not be invested right now. So why should I continue just because I was told to do it when I was much younger? And the other thing is, again, connecting with faith. And I'm distinguishing faith and religion. Faith is something that you don't have to be religious. It's a connection between you and a higher cause and a higher, doesn't matter what name you give it, but you're connected with something that connects all of us together. And how am I assisting in this flow for the better evolution of all humankind? Am I making a difference that I feel I'm aligned with? And sometimes I don't. Sometimes I find myself going on a path that is not in harmony, and it's causing damage to me, possibly to others. I stop, I correct myself. I also put some people around me that I trust, including my wife, to be my conscience on my safeguards.
And some counterparty.
So we find the balance. Everybody needs to come to their own power. And different ethnicities, minorities, we all have something to give to this world.
And I think with this, we also come towards an end of this episode. And Ronen, thank you so much for all these kind of insights and getting to know so much about your changes and what you've been through and indeed the things you've come to learn. This was Ronen's story. By deviating from the course of study that his father had set up for him, Ronen decided to follow his passion for animation, and that led eventually to start his first business in that domain. It was thanks to his personality and his attitude towards taking risks that Ronen managed to turn his visions into reality in the last 30 years and start multiple ventures. On his continuous journey for personal growth and improvement, Ronen embraced spirituality, and that changed the way he approached lives nowadays. Ronen is now a healer and helps others find their true selves through South American medicine. This was the end of this episode. Have you ever had the chance to change your life, or do you know anybody who has? Please get in touch with us and leave a comment here below. And if you have enjoyed this episode, do not forget to like and subscribe to this channel, and see you next time. Give me a chance, on your screen and in your ears.